Hey, early childhood educators, welcome to Human Skills Training, where we translate modern neuroscience into what actually works in practice. I'm your host, Chris Danilo, and my background is in child development and neuroscience. And for the last few years, I've been facilitating high energy, useful, and fun professional development workshops for educators like you. Enjoy this episode. I hope you learn a lot, but more importantly, I hope you do something great with it. Well, Melissa Taylor, it is so good to meet you and hang out with you. You have a kind of wild and interesting background because you're sort of a teacher and you also have a master's degree, but you're also an entrepreneur. You know a lot about marketing, and you are also a writer at a publisher, but you also help people publish. And I heard that you recently took up swearing.
I regret telling you that. Yeah, I did because you stop when you're teaching, you stop when you have kids, and then you feel like you need more language to express yourself fully.
Right, right.
That's
Sometimes we need the
that's
extreme edges. Yeah.
sometimes there's just certain words that work better than others.
It's true. It's true. Just because it's crass doesn't mean that it's not accurate or articulate.
Exactly. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. So one of the things that is really interesting to me about you is your path, because I think you started as a teacher and you weren't just any teacher. You're like winning awards in Douglas County. For those of you who are not from Colorado, Douglas County, in Colorado, good, beautiful, sunny Colorado. So you're doing great. And then you were like, I need to do something different. Like, how did this happen? Can you walk me through kind of like a little bit about your path?
Sure. I gave so much as a teacher. Teachers that are listening will understand this. You're just
Yeah.
exhausted Friday night, you have nothing left. And I worried that I couldn't be an excellent teacher and an excellent
Mm,
parent. So I thought I will try to figure out something else I can do from home that maybe uses my background in education or anything, really. I was just trying to figure it out. So I did the Gallup poll has
oh, yeah.
a book, and then it has a test you can take called Strengths Finder. It is not a career test, but it
Right.
helped me sort what I was good at, and because it asks you to focus on your strengths instead of your weaknesses. We often focus on what I can get better at, but this was more than just good with people. It was really specific, like intellectual was one of mine that I thought, "Oh, this is why I love teaching because I'm really curious. I love to learn." That was it just pointed me in the direction of writing. I'm really good at writing, so why not do that for a business? Now, I didn't really think through that there's actually no money in writing, but I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna be a writer," and, my husband's an entrepreneur, and he helped me when I was first starting to really think of myself as an entrepreneurial
Mm,
writer, not just a writer. So that meant that when my peers who I was in my critique group were getting edited by editors and they would get mad or argue back, I wouldn't. I would just say, "You bought this, you can do whatever you want to my piece, right? I'm here to make money." And that's it's done me well because I'm always thinking about it as a business. So when I was teaching writing classes out of my house, one of my girlfriends said, "Have you heard of this thing called a blog?" And it was really
right.
new at the time. It was about 16, 17 years ago. And she said, "You should start a blog to promote your writing classes for kids." I did. We called it Imagination Soup. It was my husband's name. And so I started blogging and not really thinking about the end in mind, but I think a lot of female entrepreneurs do this. We just jump in with both feet and see how it goes. I started writing for Colorado Parent Magazine as a freelance writer. When I was in my editor's office one day, I saw piles of children's books, and I said, "I love children's books. Do you need someone to review those?" And she said, "Yes, but I can't pay you." So I had to decide, is that worth it? And I decided it was worth it to work for free, to learn about reviewing books, to get the contacts with the publishers. And I did that for a year, got all the contacts with the publishers, quit, and really transferred all that over to my own blog, which I then monetized with ads and affiliate links. So that's sort of the journey of Imagination Soup and how I grew it into a six-figure business that is now
Whoa.
morphing into a few different things because of the changes on the internet. But yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah, I
that
know, right? Like AI is completely changing the landscape of what
yeah,
quality written content looks like. That is like,
unfortunately, yeah.
yeah, it is a wild world out there. But you have done so much. I mean, in just like a few seconds, you just jammed like like that was so many pivots and adjustments and I feel like it's so easy to look back and connect the dots because the dots are there and you just draw a line through them. And like I feel like everything that you've shared, there were so many big, hard decisions in there. Like, not just do I leave what I'm doing, or like do I start a new thing that I like maybe I have to like learn a new skill and I have to like pause for a while and have this huge like I have to take a risk in that like maybe I'm not earning an income for a while, but like I know that I'm gonna work it out later on. Like those there are so many components of that that are really difficult because of the emotional like roller coaster that you had. What's something in your career changes and pivoting and adjustments and all these things like what is something that has kept you locked into a forward facing position? Like maybe you didn't always know what
Mm.
the like landing place would be, and maybe you did, but I'm just curious like how did you like what oriented you and said, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna keep paddling.
My why. I always went back to my
Hmm.
why. Why am I doing this? And my ultimate why, just in general, is to be of service to other people, to make people's life easier. Now, that has taken many different shapes throughout the year. So, freelance writing, I'm trying to inform with whatever my topic is, whether it was diapers or
Right.
Thanksgiving traditions. And in Imagination Soup, I was very clear that my audience were parents, grandparents, and educators. I read really fast. I grew up without a television, so all I did was read, and the occasional times my mom forced me outside. But I read fast, so I thought this is my superpower. I can read 200 books a month, curate the best ones, and give those to people who don't have all the 200 books for one, because I get sent them from the publishers, or two, time to read them all and sift through which is actually a really good book that kids will like. So I always think about why am I doing this and who am I doing it for? I know my audience and I know my why.
You just said something that freaked me out. You were like 200 books a month. That is a 200 period. That is
Remember,
a
some of them are
really
picture
high.
books, but
So
yeah,
how do you how my next question to you is just how?
I'm so judgy. The thing is, I just get a stack of books and take half a day, 2 days, whatever I need, and just start reading them. And if it doesn't interest me, I move on pretty quickly. Move on. If it does interest me, put it in a pile to review. I read it again to make sure it's like so good that people would want to read it. That's kind of how I do it. I know what kids like and kids don't like, right? I'm not going to do a book that's too didactic, where the kid
Mm,
doesn't solve their own
mhm.
problems, or there's too much text. It's second nature to me. I'm looking for engaging, rereadable books because picture books are meant to be reread on the laps of an adult. And for middle grade books, it's those books that are well written that grab you. And I think the pacing is so important. If I get bored in the middle and I like to read, it's not a good book for
Right,
kids. Yeah.
right. I'm nodding my head because it makes sense, but I'm also nodding my head selfishly because I'm thinking about my own adult reading pattern. You know what I mean? I would
Yeah.
imagine other people who are listening. I don't know. I think it's where people are split. Do you? Maybe you probably have an opinion about this. I feel like people are split. Either I'm a reader or I'm not a reader, right? And it's like there's
Mhm.
no middle ground. Like I don't think of myself as a voracious reader. I feel like I was at one point, and then like I don't know. The last I think the cadence that I had that I felt was pretty good, that was I think far below average for what I think readers would consider, is like a book a month. for several years. That was like my pattern. That was my pace. And I was like, that was pretty good. And now the last several years, I haven't, I don't know what happened, but I'm just like losing. And so the thing that you said that's interesting to me is you are very tuned to like the emotional experience of when you're reading something, you kind of know if it's going to work or not, or like what's drawing you in about it, which is inherently an emotional experience. And we can explain it with like, oh, how long did it take this pop song to get to the hook, right? And like we can explain the mechanics of why the song
Yeah.
was successful in a popular market. And like we can kind of, reason our way around that. But like we know from brain science that like you feel first and then you come up with all the reasons why you think that way.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing that's really cool and productive is leveraging that. Like you've tuned that in. You've said, I know what's resonating. I know what I am experiencing. And for me, like that's clicking because that's my new strategy is like, okay, maybe I need to stop reading so many boring business books that are just for practical whatever,
Yeah.
and I need to like I need to like fall in love with reading again, you know what I mean, instead of willpowering
Yes.
so I don't know if anybody is
Hmm.
listening who needs to hear that, but I think
Yeah.
one thing that you're doing really well and smartly is tuning into that and leveraging it.
Well, and brain candy, right? I read fluffy
Mm,
romance books because I'm sometimes there I don't believe I think a middle grade book for the 4th grade to 7th, 8th grade kiddos sometimes is at a higher reading level than those books. And when I'm
yeah,
tired, I just want something I'm probably never going to even remember the characters, but I would rather that easy kind of tropey book than a book that is weighty and I fall asleep with or
right,
screen time. So I think it and then I say I know what kids like, and I still that caveat that I should say is that I still think choice is the only way to
yeah,
go. We don't need to make kids read certain books. If they don't wanna read about, realistic things, they can read fantasy, and they still will grow as a reader. They'll still have an emotional experience with the story. They'll still, develop their own, like, reflections of their identity and all the things that come with them being readers. We don't need to prescribe certain books to them. So I love giving kids choice. I had a girl in my 5th grade class who only read the encyclopedia, which was slightly a problem because there you have there let's just try fiction. And she like refused. Reagan, love her. She's a lawyer now. She's fine. It worked out fine that she just only read because I just was flexible with her and we changed the curriculum. That's called differentiation at its finest, where you have to kind of go with the kid and their interest and not make it a fight.
whoa, I
Yeah.
love how I feel like, but it seems so natural, right? If we know that like every child is different, and we know that like every child learns differently, and like every child is like motivated differently, but yet we have these like lesson plans or like structures of like, well, but it's time. It's sorry guys, but nap time's over.
Yeah.
We got to transition it. Oh, sorry, but playtime's like
Right?
we got to move to this thing, and like somehow the structure becomes more important than the thing that we were doing. And so I
Mhm.
feel like what you've done that was effective and admirable, because it's actually hard, is going with the flow. Even though it sounds like that would be
Yeah.
easy, but like you're like, cool, what's the thing that motivates you? Let's leverage that and like launch you into
Yeah.
it and get you excited about it and like what's going to
Exactly.
make you fall in love with reading? Like I love
Right.
that
My
so
own
much.
daughter, she read Harry Potter, the whole series 5 times instead of any other books. There were no other books for years. And
Yeah.
I could have freaked out because I mean there's a lot of other really good books and can we move on and like maybe not fantasy? Could we try a mystery? No. She's successful, she's fine. It all worked out. And there is something to be said for rereading. Maybe not that many times, but she was still reading. So you have
Yeah.
to really reflect on why you're stuck in a certain area of what you want them to do and take a
Right.
step back to make sure it's really in line with what's best for them.
That seems it's like seems like one of those things that's so simple but so hard,
Yeah.
right? Like what's best for them? Like, oh my gosh, it's so subtle but like profound. Um, Also, I don't want to let this slide because you said something earlier. You said the phrase brain candy, and I was like, okay, but can that be the next title of your book, of your next book?
Okay.
Like
I
that's
write it
so
down.
good. Like brain candy is really good. Like that's catchy. Like that should be the title of something that you do.
Okay. Or my next
Um,
rock band. I should start a band.
yes. But it's all authors from like classic novels.
Right? That'd be great. Yeah, I can just imagine the song title.
It's pretty good. I,
Okay.
one of the other things that as you were talking, I was like, this can sound silly and maybe a throwaway question, but do you read in bed?
No,
Is that a
I
rule?
don't. I think I used to, and I stayed up way too late. So now I'm pretty strict with my self-care in the sense that I know it's really good for me to go to bed at a certain time. So when it's that time, I don't compromise. I'm done reading, the Kindle or the book goes away and I go to bed, and bed is for sleeping, period. Yeah,
Right,
I don't watch TV in bed, moved that out of the bedroom a long time
right.
ago. Yeah.
I love that. It's very functional because I feel like sometimes we have these rules and like they're just, they're intended to be useful and helpful and productive, but like sometimes they just get in the way. And I think what I'm learning about you is that you're very good at like not losing sight of the big picture. Like if I read in bed, I will stay up all night. And like while that's good for reading, it's not sustainable. So like
Yeah,
I
then
have
I
to
feel
reprioritize.
horrible.
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
So like I
The
love that. Yeah.
therapy. I recommend therapy to everyone because this helps you take care of yourself better.
I love it. Yeah, you're not wrong. Um, so the other thing I kind of realized as you were talking was there were so many experiences and changes and adaptations that you made in your career. At some point, you got a master's degree in there. Like, how did you decide that that was important, and how did you make that happen in the middle of everything else?
I got my master's degree pretty early on. So after my teaching certification, I did a year of teaching in DPS, that's Denver Public Schools. And the second year of teaching, I moved to Douglas County, but then I got my master's, finished my master's that year in summer. So it was pretty early
Got it.
on.
So you knew
Yeah.
you wanted that expertise, and then you went into the field to apply it.
Okay, real talk. I knew I wanted the raise that came with the master's. So as my, I went to a very good university, University of Denver. I wouldn't say I got a great education, but I
Fair enough.
think generally speaking, that is the big problem with a lot of teaching certification programs and master's degree is
Mm,
they don't actually prepare you for the classroom. They are not teaching research-based
yeah.
practices. They might have people in there who haven't taught in years at all or have taught at all, teaching you what to do. I graduated not knowing anything about how to teach. I knew about
Yeah.
child development a little bit,
Right.
right? That some of the things that I just feel like we
Right.
would be better served as a country if our teaching programs were way more robust.
Agreed. I'm nodding my head. Big time. Um, what's like something specific that you wish, knowing what you know now, that you could share with like early in their career educators?
I that teaching is an art for one, and that
Mm,
it shouldn't be prescriptive. So these, unfortunately, I know this is mandated by a lot of schools. These prescriptive curriculums, they take all the art out of teaching. They take I mean, you're not assessing your kids and teaching from what they need to know. You're just following this ridiculous curriculum that's a day one, day 10, based on not your students. So it's super ineffective. But I think the understanding how to do writing and reading workshop is so powerful. Understanding about modeling and reflection and so like the best practices, like I think it's Harvey Demelman Daniels and Hyde has a best practices book that's still relevant today. I would recommend that. I spent a lot of my first few years reading research on my own and trying to figure out what is going to work for my students. Um, there's a lot that's a problem. There's a lot to know when you're first starting out,
yeah.
and it will get easier, but keep like that, keep learning and keep experimenting and really reflecting on what isn't working in your own practice.
Hmm. That sounds so entrepreneurial to have like, I think when I say that, people will think that I mean like capitalist, but what I actually mean is like is like an engineer. Like you're thinking of like how do you iterate, learn, rebuild, like reiterate and like learn and rebuild and like that's a cycle that's so essential for progress in any field. But like I don't know that it's baked into the how to become a great educator
Yeah.
curriculum.
Growth mindset, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like progress and these
Hmm.
like expertise are skills as opposed to, oh, I'm not a reader, right? A
A lot
belief,
of teachers
right?
told me that, or I'm not a writer. I don't know how to teach writing.
Yeah.
Well, really, we all write, so we're all writers. You could you could argue that we might not all be good writers.
Right.
So we may not read a lot of books, but we're all still readers because we can read. So our language is so important, right? And how we speak to ourselves, how we speak in front of kids, and things like that can send the wrong messages saying, I'm not, I can't. We don't want to be modeling that for children.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's so funny because it's like I think that's true about reading and writing, but I feel like it's also really true in the sciences. Like
Yeah.
people really feel strongly about that with math. Like I'm not a math person. I don't know. I don't do numbers really well. Like we just have these beliefs about it. So I don't know. What
Hmm.
you're describing is a path that's, like you said, very much growth mindset, which is just, hey, I believe that am not good at this right now, but like this is the worst that I will ever be at it. Like I just need to keep doing the thing or practicing or what learning. And
Hmm.
eventually I have to believe that eventually I will be competent, you
Yes.
like intermediate, or even in a wild world, good at it. Like,
And honestly, when you suck at something, you start at the lowest level you can and you get excellent, you get good. There is nothing better than that feeling of pride and
yeah,
confidence in your efficacy, right?
right.
That is, I just was doing this. I
Yeah.
started volunteering at a horse therapy barn, and I've been really stressed. Like I've been terrible sucking. I got drugged along the in front of a whole bunch of people. I got drugged down the hallway by a horse. That was embarrassing, and I am getting better and better every day, and so is my confidence, because once it's okay to be a beginner, as long as you don't stop, as long as you keep trying and learning and growing, and then, oh my gosh, the pride that you have in yourself, there's nothing like it.
Wow. So you don't look like you got drugged by a horse through like you look okay. Where did you incur any like injury?
It was no, he wanted to get to his stall, and it's I was trying to stop to when they go into the barn, it's really sunny outside, and I was just trying to get him to adjust his eyes to the darkness of the barn. He just didn't wanna stop, so he was just gonna get to his stall no matter what. If you're like, "Hi, I'm new. Can anyone tell?" It's fine. Yeah, it
Oh my God,
you
I'm
just
so sorry for your
yeah,
pain, but also for
it
laughing.
oh my gosh, it's horrible, and I literally okay, so this is I think you're like this too. I went home to console myself. I looked up the research on being a beginner
Right.
because I was like, hopefully this is really good. And sure enough, it's
Yeah.
really good for your brain plasticity.
Yeah, it turns out that
Yay.
when you are trying new things, your brain literally generates neurotrophins that
Yes.
increase your ability to like connect different neurons and learn new learning paths, basically.
Yes, so the moral of the story is that you're starting out teaching, hang in there. It'll get better and your
Mhm.
brain's gonna get bigger.
That's a beautiful message and a beautiful reminder. What's like, there may not be an answer to this, and that's fine, but I'm just curious because now a lot of what you consult on like book publishing, you consult on writing, like you're doing all these things. In what oddly specific way is teaching similar to like writing or book publishing or some of these other like endeavors that you're in?
Book publishing years, I always say it's like the reverse of dog years. It is so slow, and
Mm,
so is teaching, right? So we see a student who we really want to
right.
see their trajectory faster than it is, and even my daughter who's neurodiverse, her growth continuum was so much different than her peers. So you always have to remember to compare your the one child with themselves, not all the other people. And that's the same thing with book publishing, where you hear of these overnight successes, but most of the time people are pitching agents and editors for years, getting rejections and not going anywhere, or having a really sort of flop first debut moment. That's not everybody who gets the bestseller. So it's this similar idea of comparing yourself, comparing the child with themselves. Is there improvement not over days, but maybe months and years? And if so, that's the win, right?
Hmm. What an important lesson of like managing expectations. Because I feel like a lot of the failure in that instance would be I was expecting growth or whatever, this result, this outcome by this time, and it's not happening. So what I'm doing isn't working. And so either if I don't believe that it's true or possible, then I will quit or like work on something else.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, man, that is just so like core. I think the the importance of literacy has like surfaced. I don't know. I feel like it's a conversation that's been a conversation for a long time. But like this past year, so it's currently November 5th, 2025. And last November, 2024, at NAEYC, NAEYC, if you are listening and you don't know what it is, organization and conference and publication for early childhood development. Like so much of the content was centered around literacy and it was awesome. And there were so many cool people talking about it. What do you feel like maybe more educators should know about the magical power of literacy for adults, for kids? Like, what do you feel like is a superpower or an effect that it has that maybe we don't recognize right away or we're not like appreciating as much as we should?
Mm. Well, I think what the research tells us that it's empathy, right? People
Hmm.
who are readers are more empathetic because they're tapping into the emotions of another person's life, and you can't help but reflect back on yourself, thinking about your own emotions, your own identity. Reading anything changes you. It makes you before you start the book versus after you start a book, generally you're a different person after that experience of that book. Even if it's a nonfiction book, you've learned something, you've changed somehow, and that is like making the world a better place just in general because you're going to be a better person.
I love that answer. And what I also loved about that answer is that I wasn't expecting that.
Oh,
That's really cool because you're so right. Like how many times I even think about like reading a book that you read years ago as a kid, but you're rereading it as an adult. And now you're in a different place and you get something different out of it because you're connecting to a different character, you're
yeah.
relating to a different part of the story, and you notice something different that you're like, holy smoke. Like this experience is so rich. I'm not rereading the same book. I'm reading a completely different book because I'm getting something completely different out of it. And I
Yeah.
just love your attention to the experience of what it feels like and how it relates to growth and like brain development, but also just being a productive, happy
Right.
person, being a great teacher, like all those
And
things
we
that we
don't
want.
get that from a TV show or a movie. We're not sitting there reflecting, like, you know how you just those characters in a book, they stick with you and you're thinking, "What would I have done? How are they gonna cope?" If you're in the middle, you're thinking about how is this gonna end. It's
Right.
not gonna go well, and you just can't stop thinking about it. That's a different experience, like, on a cellular level, I feel like.
I wonder if anybody studies that
I
because
know.
that would be a cool thing to see. Now I'm like really curious because what's right about that is visually all the imagining has happened for you. And so when you're a
Mhm.
co-creator in the story and you're reading something and all those new colors and images and faces and textures of like what someone's hair is like and like all these things that like
Yeah.
you actually invented, like maybe you're getting some of that information but really you're the one creating it in your own mind,
Mhm.
which is why everyone says the book is always better than the movie and there's
Yeah.
99% of the time. because we were co-creators in that experience and we have a little bit
Yes.
more ownership and it sticks into long-term memory a little bit
Mhm.
differently.
There's so many thinking skills you're using when you're reading. So I have a client right now who has a fiction book, but it started because she saw this really cool underwater phenomena, researched the heck out of that because she asked questions. So we're always, that's what good readers do. We're asking questions. And then she is, not making an inference, but readers will make an inference. She invented this whole world, whole characters,
Mm,
fictional, based on this one curious thing that she started wondering about. And when we're reading, we're we're making all the sensory images in our mind like a movie, right? We're asking questions, we are
mm.
making inferences, we're connecting to our lives, and it's just so much thinking going on that we don't experience generally when we're consuming uh, screens.
Did you see the movie Roma?
No,
I
I don't
think it
think so.
was in, I could be wrong about this. Someone has to fact check me.
No.
But I think the movie Roma was shot for Netflix. I think
Mm,
they are sort of the parent of this. But the project was like, it was so, like, it was shot so slow,
mm,
so long drawn out scenes. Like they framed shots really, really, really well. And then they like just took their time explaining characters. And I feel like like, I'm not going to lie to you, it was hard to like get through if you're used to, like
yeah.
the average cutscene of a movie like 100 years ago, or I don't know, I want to say someone has to fact check me on this, something like when movies first started happening, the average cutscene was like 9 or 10 seconds. That's how long the scene lasts before you cut to the next scene. Today the cutscenes are like under 3 seconds. That's the average.
Oh,
And so, like, attentionally, like the amount of information you're consuming in that time, and before you shift to the next, like, thought or place, like, a lot of the activity of what you're thinking is happening for you visually versus like these longer, drawn out scenes. And so, like, attention has become an interesting factor. I
yeah.
wonder, like, if you, I don't know if you've noticed in your work if kids today, this is going to sound weird, if kids today have the attention for reading more or less, or if that's a thing that's
Yeah.
increasing or decreasing or staying the same. Do you have an opinion about
From
that?
for sure. Teachers that are in the classroom, I'm not right now, but teachers that I know in the classroom and probably online all say they're, especially since COVID, the attention is gone. Like it is the worst ever. And it doesn't seem to be bouncing back like they were hoping after COVID. You're back in school, we're ready to learn. It's just there, it is kind of dismal. And the statistics aren't looking good on
Mm-hmm.
reading scores and all the things that just it keeps going downhill. So, and I noticed that with me. I don't know if you do too, Chris. I find that my attention span is shorter than it used to be. I have to force myself sometimes, like, no, you're not getting up or you're not going to check Instagram. You're in the middle of a chapter. For the love of Pete,
Right.
like
Right.
it's the weirdest thing. I
Yeah.
notice it about me, and I didn't used to be like that.
That's so reassuring. It's not reassuring. It's reassuring to me to hear you say that. It's validating because I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not losing my mind, right? Because I was never like reading 200 books a month. One book a month was like, okay, I'm a person who I can read some things and I'm, participating in the world and I'm trying to learn and continue to grow, but I was never like identifying myself as a reader. But the last couple of years, I have not been on that pace at all. Hence the kind of desire to fall in love again with reading, like the conversation we were just having.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, like emotionally, I think we have to kind of restart or recenter on like what feels like fun. Like it has to feel
Yeah.
good. Like in order for this to work and like re-practice the skill of reading, like I don't know, like I feel like your instincts are
Mhm.
good around recentering on what's resonating and what feels good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that we often push ourselves as adults, like we have to read something fancy, something that we
Yes.
learn from, or something that's literature, and it's like you may We can make up rules to do whatever we want. We are adults.
Facts. I love that. My mom will not love this, but I'm an adult and I get to eat a cookie whenever I want to eat a cookie. If I
Exactly.
want to eat a cookie. And if I
Yeah.
ruin my appetite, I ruined it.
Yeah.
And guess what? The great thing about being a person is there's always another appetite coming back around. So I think
Exactly.
it's gonna be okay. I love the permission giving because I do that. Exactly what you said. Like, well, I really should read the classics. Like, I should really go read this. Ugh, I can tell you this
Yeah.
publicly, and it'll be fine. I tried. I sat down. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read the Brothers Karamazov. I sat down, and I didn't realize that the first 100, whatever, the first page, 10 pages, 30 pages are just going to be an introduction to the first 100 characters of the story. You know what I mean? I was just like, I can't do this. I
No,
am not
no.
strong enough. I'm
It's
going to put this down. I'm going to accept defeat. It beat me.
read Michael Conway. I do hear there's a really good new one about AI. Someone told me recently. I don't keep up with him, but he's one of the fast paced and.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it sounds weirdly scary. But yeah, we do this silly thing. I took Anna Karenina with me on my European backpack trip,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I tried, and then I ended up buying a $20 paperback from some airport store because I was like, I cannot get
Right.
through. I'm not. It's no.
I'm so validated right now.
And I abandon books all the time. I mean, because I don't have time to waste in my life. I have too many books to read, but also just even if I didn't, I don't want to waste time reading a dumb book or a bad book or what
Facts.
I don't like. Who cares? No one
You
is going to judge me.
my rule about I'm so glad you said that because my rule about specifically business books, like any kind of like basically there's no nonfiction book that has been written in the history of the universe that's 300 pages that could have been written in 30 pages. Right?
Thank you. It's an article.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because and this is like where I get a little we're tying the emotional component into it. The reason that these books are written this way is because the experience and feeling as though you accomplished something larger is important in like understanding the book and then like taking it and trying to apply it. So like I think the books are designed that way because you feel like you read a book. But I'm a little bit like I don't know if I have this opinion that's one way or the other. I feel like I'm a little torn because I feel to some degree that we need to add a little bit more placebo effect to make the thing like a dopamine hit so that you keep doing it. Like we need to add a little bit more of the like
Cookies.
special magic. Yeah. Like extrinsic motivation. Like we need to add a little bit more extrinsic motivation to it. But at the same time, like as a person who is reading the book, like my rule for these nonfiction books was like, as soon as I get the joke, I put the book down. Like to use Seth Godin's language of like, I get the joke, I'm gonna put it down. Like we're done. And like to me, that felt like very businessy, like very straight, like like aligned with like what I was trying to do. I was there to accomplish something, get some information, and now I need to go apply it. Versus have an experience, have a like expand my experience of the world or my understanding of the world by relating to these characters. And maybe I'm relating to a character in a way that's different than I expected, like I'm trying to think of a good example. Like Beyond Good and Evil is this classic like philosophy book that Nietzsche wrote. And I did not expect to get through that and have an opinion about like people. Like I wanted to live in a world where good and evil was black and white. And like by the end of the book, I was like, oh shoot. Like I didn't expect this outcome. And like that's a completely different experience that requires 300 pages rather than like you should email your customers because if you email your customers, you're going to get a chance to talk to them for free. And that's going to help you grow your business.
Yeah. Or that new Mel Robbins book, which is just a slogan. But yeah,
Right.
and I think that's with kids too. When we think about the reading that they're doing, if we can help them unpack it, I think
Mm,
reflection is so underutilized
mm,
everywhere in parenting and classroom. Any just reflection, tell me what you read, can help jog their memory, help them process it instead of just move on. And when we do that ourselves, even in a reading journal or a book club, it makes the experience so much richer because then it sort of cements it. Like, how do we learn? Reflection is really important
mm.
in learning. And we know this from research. So if we can do that for kids, even just simple conversations at the dinner table, what did you like best? That's enough.
Wow. I really love and value that so much. It's the research has been so clear for so long that like if you see the information, just if you see the information alone again in 24 hours, you're like, I forget the numbers, but it's like you're twice as likely to remember. It's like
Yeah.
several
Mhm.
times as likely to remember it. If you see it again in like another 24 hours, like it sticks even more. Like it's another
Yeah.
multiplier. It's just
Yeah.
like one of those things. And reflection is so not a thing that we do right now because
Right.
it's so much
Mhm.
easier to just go put the thing down that you were doing, book, email, work, whatever experience you just had, to like
Yeah.
stop what you're doing and then pick up your phone and start
Yeah.
completely emptying your brain
Mhm.
because like, oh well, I need to take a break. And so these moments that we had before we were addicted to phones where we were like alone for 2 seconds, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go wash my hands and do this and get ready for dinner and prep that whatever, and in the time that I'm doing that, I'm reflecting accidentally.
Yeah. That's why we have the best ideas in the shower or the bathroom, right? Where you're like,
Facts.
"Eureka!" Because
Yeah.
you're not being bombarded with anything. You're just with your own thoughts.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion or an experience about how literacy impacts behavior in kids or development?
I don't know any research on this. I would suspect that it's dramatic, but I don't know because I think we're gonna have to would you compare kids who are really literate and doing well in reading versus kids who aren't? I'm not sure how you
Right,
would
right,
compare that,
right.
but my sense is that, again, going back to, like, the empathy and the experience as a reader, in changing your life and walking in the shoes of someone else, there's there's gotta be
Mhm,
some emotional development that's happening at a different level than kids who aren't experiencing those stories, and I think fiction more than nonfiction in this case for sure, because it's also helping you see that what's real in life, like, that people have hard times and they get through them, and it's possible, whatever the situation is,
mhm,
even if it's a fantasy story and they're a dragon rider, it still is giving us the human experience that we can learn from.
mhm. Yeah, definitely. Because these are people.
Yeah,
These are stories of people, and I feel like one of the things that has to happen, now in the age of AI, and it's so easy to create low quality written content that like, yeah, if you're just looking for information, like fine, like that can be generated. That's not that
yeah,
hard. But if you're looking for deep, rich connection and character and ethos and like experience things and like learn something different or maybe create a new thought that a reader didn't know or expect or even want to
yeah,
have, like that's very human. And to me, that's like so much more valuable in the way that the world is developing, right? Like I think the things that will be valuable in the future will be more human like because so much else is becoming commoditized and cheaper and, easier to produce and like
I
whatever.
sure hope so. I hope so, yeah, good. You said it first.
Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I hope I'm wrong slash I'm willing to be wrong. Um, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
What's um what's a story that you've told yourself because of your great knack for reading? What's a story that you've told yourself that has been really helpful or productive or useful in allowing you to achieve so much?
Mm. Oh, that is such a good question that I immediately I do not know the answer to. My entire 40s, I was sick, like bedridden sick. We
What?
didn't know what was wrong with me, and my kids were sick too, and it was horrible. One of the things that I told myself, just maybe because I'm a reader, was that the one consistent thing in life is change. And that helped me keep some modicum of hope when it was really hard. So something can always change. I mean, it could change for the worse, and it did sometimes, but knowing that there is a chance it could change for the better kept me trying and striving in that area as well as in my business, of course. It was amazing. I could, work an hour a day even sometimes because my brain was so foggy.
Whoa. That see, that's a long period of time to
Yeah,
be
it was long.
like fried.
Yeah.
Brain fog is an interesting expression because I feel like the sort of some of the ripple of COVID, I think, has left a lot of people feeling like they have that experience of like brain fog.
Mhm.
Have you experienced that at all? Was that related? And like, did
Yeah.
any of that come back? Like, tell me more about that.
So the root cause was mold toxicity. We had mold in our house and it had gotten into
Ugh.
my body, and it'll attack any system in your body. For me, it was a variety. One of my daughters had a seizure because of it. It can go
Whoa.
any place and have a lot of different symptoms. But my brain fog was so bad that I stopped having anxiety because I literally couldn't think through a thought. I couldn't remember
Mhm.
what I was thinking in the middle of thinking it. So that was, like, kind of, I'm not trying to bright side it, but that was how bad it was.
Whoa.
And also good. I was like, "Well, that's cool. I don't have anxiety." Uh, the and then with
Whoa.
the long COVID, my doctor and it's inflammation in your brain, right? So that's causing a lot of brain fog for people. And I actually started taking this thing called low dose naltrexone, which is really good for inflammation, and it really helped my brain
Wow.
fog and symptoms of like long COVID. But
Wow.
something, a little thing that cancer doctors prescribe it to their patients too. But it can really affect you, and it's hard when you're a reader and you're supposed to be reading books and writing about them, and I have to just when my brain was sort of alert, I could read, and when it wasn't, I couldn't.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Melissa Taylor, you have been through so many things. You have adapted and changed. You have seen your vision of what you want to happen, and then you've changed this and that and made some really cool like achievements. And I am glad that at least some of them you've been recognized for. Um, but just particularly today, thank you for sharing your brain with me and with the people that I know. And I'm just so glad that you exist in the world. And I hope that our worlds get to collide again and we find some crazy excuse to work on something.
Me too. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.
You're a force. I can't wait to see what you do next. What's the title of your book? Aren't you publishing right now?
My next book is a picture book about a bear with food allergies. It's out in April. It's called Tova's Sweet Solution.
April 2026, Tova's Sweet Solution. I can't
Yeah,
wait to read it.
thanks.
Talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Human Skills Training. If this episode sparked something, just share it with an educator or a leader who needs it. If you want to pick my brain, just drop me a line at chrisdanilo.com. See you next time.